Good morning. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Assembly Committee on Housing and Community Development of July 1st, 2015. We're going to proceed as a subcommittee because of lack of a quorum. And today we have 3 bills on the agenda and 1 on consent. Looks like we have, for our first presentation, Senator Liu, would you like to come up and present your bill? That's on SB 580. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. SB 580 is a district bill on the disposition of homes Caltrans purchased in Pasadena, South Pass, and Los Angeles City community of El Sereno 60 years ago for the North State Route 710 project. Disposition of these homes is subject to the Roberti Bill. The objectives of this 40-year-old law is to generate affordable housing and preserve neighborhoods. But sale of the homes has been deferred for decades. You are familiar with this subject matter, I'm sure, Assemblymember Chow, while the North Route 710 project has lingered in litigation. The project now has rebooted 4 years ago, and the original route of the project has now been discarded. This clears the way for Caltrans to sell many of the homes, some of which have been occupied by tenants for decades. Caltrans is proceeding with draft Roberti Bill regulations that I believe address most concerns regarding sale of the properties. But one last issue warrants a legislative remedy, and that's the disposition of historical properties and properties that may not be suitable for affordable housing. Caltrans currently owns 399 residential properties with 490 housing units. 83 single-family homes and 27 multifamily units are designated to have historical significance. My bill gives public and nonprofit entities a priority over affordable housing entities to sell or to purchase an historic home. Public entities could rehabilitate and sell the homes for profit and apply the funds to build affordable housing in the same area. Alternatively, the public entity or nonprofit would restore and open the historical home for public use. Where non-historical properties are concerned, SB 580 gives public housing entities the ability to purchase, rehab, and flip homes to generate fundings for affordable housing. My office is in close contact with Caltrans as they finalize the Roberti Bill regulations so we maintain a synchrony between the bills and the pending regulations, and I ask for you to move this bill forward.
Thank you very much. Before we go to our first witness, I'd like to establish quorum. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chow.
Here.
Chow here. Steinnorth.
Here.
Steinnorth here. Burke. Chu. Gaines. Here. Gaines here. Lopez. Here. Lopez here. Mullen. Here. Mullen here.
First witness, please proceed. No witnesses?
No witnesses.
Anyone in support of the bill, please come forward. Opposition? None. Oh, wow. How about that? Questions by committee members?
I don't have a question, but I do want to make a comment that I do appreciate the author bringing this forward. I'm very encouraged at the way you're approaching all of these homes in that area. We all love that community, so we're very glad to see movement on this issue.
Incrementally, snail's pace.
I also want to thank the senator because the project impacts one of my cities, Alhambra, very closely. So I've been monitoring the situation, and I think we have seen quite a bit of activities lately as well. And so I think last couple of weeks ago, the San Gabriel COG took a kind of some action in approving a tunnel option. So there's a lot of kind of fireworks going on there as well. So I want to thank you for your work. And so if there are no further comments or questions, would you like to close?
I simply ask for your support in the bill. And there's no fireworks with this
There's
bill.
No Very well, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
We need a first and a second, sir.
I'm sorry.
We need a motion.
Oh, need a motion also. Yes, motion by the Vice Chair and second by, okay, Ms. Gaines, so please call the roll.
Chow.
Aye.
Chow, aye. Steinnorth. Aye. Steinnorth, aye. Burke. Chu. Gaines. Gaines, aye. Lopez. Lopez, aye. Mullen. Mullen, aye.
Your bill is out, and we'll hold the row open for absent members.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much, members.
Next, we have Senator Leno, SB 441. Welcome, Senator.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I'm pleased to bring you another bill without any opposition.
How about that?
Thank you. As you're well aware, San Francisco, surrounded by water on three sides, is in the midst of a housing crisis, not unlike, if not worse, than the rest of the state of California. Prices keep escalating. We've got 30 cranes in the air right now. We're building tens of thousands of new units. As author of San Francisco's inclusionary zoning ordinance, we now see projects with 20 and 30% below market rate inclusion in the projects. Nonetheless, we still have need for even more affordable housing. This bill will allow San Francisco's successor agency to fulfill enforceable obligations that the Department of Finance has finally and conclusively determined to have survived redevelopment dissolution. The bill authorizes San Francisco to use bond financing to fund and construct over 3,300 units of affordable housing and complete public infrastructure for a new residential neighborhood that's being built around the Trans Bay Terminal Center. The repayment of the bonds, instead of aggregating property tax revenues for construction costs, will provide local schools and city government with a significantly larger amount of residual revenues in each of the next 10 years. The higher total cost of repaying the bonds with interest will be spread out over many years. This financing structure better protects school and city funding for other vital local needs in the near term. The bill is sponsored by the City of San Francisco, and it has the support of the California Apartment Association. And as I mentioned in my first comment, there is no opposition to the bill, so I would ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. First witness.
Chair, members of the committee, my name is Jim Morales. I'm the General Counsel for the successor agency to the San Francisco Redevelopment Agency. As Senator Leno has pointed out, this bill allows the successor agency to complete projects that have already been approved. These are all part of master development projects in Mission Bay, Trans Bay, and the Hunters Point Shipyard. The total for all of those areas is approximately 21,000 units. 7,000 of those units are targeted for affordable ownership or rental opportunities. These will be permanently affordable units. A big portion of those affordable units will be developed by private developers, leaving the successor agency with approximately 3,000 units that it will have to subsidize and fund. As Senator Leno has pointed out, the state has already approved these obligations, and all that this legislation does is allow us to accelerate the process of building these units at a time when San Francisco has one of the greatest housing crises in modern history. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional supporters? Anyone in opposition to the bill, please come forward. Anyone opposed? Hearing and seeing none. Questions from committee members? I do have a couple questions, if I may. You mentioned that of the 21,000 units, how many of them are affordable units? Was it 17,000 or thereabouts?
No, of those 21,000 units, 7,000 are below market rate affordable units. Approximately 3,000, though, of the units will be developed as, if you will, inclusionary units in market rate developments and are the obligations of the market rate developers. That leaves 4,000 units for the successor agency, and we've already completed about 1,000. So what we're talking about in terms of this bill and future funding is the funding for 3,000 units. So those are the statistics for the units.
So these projects have been ongoing for a while then?
The projects have been approved locally since before redevelopment dissolution. Mission Bay in 98, the Shipyard in 97, and Trans Bay in 2005. So they're ongoing projects. As I said, they're master development projects that are continuing.
And Mr. Chair, the reason you don't see the Department of Finance here in opposition,
right,
and we know what a tight rein they are keeping on all of the resolution issues, the dissolution issues, is that they have finally and conclusively determined that these projects and this development has survived the redevelopment dissolution.
Right. I was looking at the analysis specifically regard to the price tag. How much in terms of dollars or otherwise are we thinking about issuing? How much bond are we talking about? How much money is involved in these in the process that we're trying to issue?
Approximately $500 million for the affordable housing, and approximately $60 million for the infrastructure in the Trans Bay that would be related to the residential developments. So that's the amount of bond proceeds that we would be used. And then the successor agency in the affordable housing context leverages those funds with tax credits and other state and local funds to provide the full subsidy for the affordable housing developments.
I see. Great. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? The bill has been moved and seconded. The recommendation is due pass to local government. Senator Leno, would you like to close?
I do ask for your vote.
Thank you very much. And Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chow?
Aye.
Chow, aye. Steinnorth?
No.
Steinnorth, no. Burke? Chu? Gaines? Gaines, no. Lopez? Lopez, aye. Mullen? Mullen, aye.
Your bill needs one more vote. We'll hold the roll open for absent members.
I thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Thank you much. Senator Bell. This is SB 377. Welcome. We could, before we start, we could also do the consent agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda for the day. Do I have a motion for consent agenda? It's been, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the consent agenda.
The motion is to pass to consent. Chow?
Aye.
Chow, aye. Steinnorth?
Aye.
Steinnorth, aye. Burke? Chu? Gaines? Gaines, aye. Lopez? Lopez, aye. Mullen? Mullen, aye.
Very good. Senator Bell, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Good morning. And recently we've been hearing a lot of news about the economy turning around and the recession behind us, so that's good news. However, too many low-income individuals and families throughout California struggle to find safe, clean, affordable housing. And without a permanent source of funding for affordable housing and the recent loss of redevelopment funds, low-income housing tax credits right now are the primary source of capital to construct and rehabilitate affordable housing units in California. Currently, low-income housing tax credits are structured in a way that is subject to federal taxation. As a result, 35% of every dollar California invests in this critical program goes to the federal government. SB 377 will allow the credits to be restructured in a way that is not subject to the federal taxation, bringing the investment closer to a dollar for dollar, therefore keeping more money in California. SB 377 will significantly increase the efficiency and value of the state's low-income housing tax credit and therefore allow more affordable housing units to be built for the same level of state expenditure. The bill has bipartisan support, and we have witnesses. Respectfully asked for your aye vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. First witness, please.
Mark Stivers on behalf of State Treasurer John Chung, and the Senator described it very well. He took my speech, so I will just be here for answer any questions that members may have.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. My name is Matt Schwartz with the California Housing Partnership. We've worked on over 500 low-income housing tax credit transactions across the state, and we've helped provide some technical expertise with tax attorneys from across the country. We're working with the author's office and the treasurer's office to make sure that this bill as proposed works. I'm here to answer questions.
Thank you much. Next witness, please.
Marina White with the California Housing Consortium in support.
Thank you. Next, please.
Daniel Savino, Association of Regional Center Agencies, also in support.
Thank you. Anyone else in support of the bill? Opposition? Please come forward, if any. Seeing none. Questions, comments from the panel? The bill has been moved and seconded. I do have a couple questions, if I may. So currently, investors are getting like 65 cents on a dollar, right? So the intent is to kind of up that. Is that?
So we award tax credits to a developer of affordable housing.
Sure.
When they bring in a corporation who has the tax liability as an investor,
right.
The investor is paying. The investor is getting the full dollar of the tax credit, but only paying 65 cents because they have to account for their federal taxation issues. And so, what we're trying to correct that here and see that the investor pays closer to the dollar, because if they don't have to pay federal taxes, they'd be willing to pay more, and the developer would actually get more equity from the investor for the same amount of tax credits.
Now, one of the differences is the fact that investors under this measure will not be made partners, for example. So would that allow more flexibility on the part of the investor, because of the fact that they don't need to be a partner per se? Is that one of the advantages?
Yes, it should increase demand for the state's tax credit, which should also increase pricing a bit, because there are probably a number of corporations out there who would be interested in the tax credit but don't necessarily want to be part of the ownership structure of an affordable housing development.
What are some of the obligations of being a partner under current law?
So the obligations are numerous, and they include all the burdens and benefits of being a property owner with all the liabilities that come with it, both to the other financing partners who have claims on the property as well as to the basic operations of the property. So I think, as Mark just said, not having to commit to all of those additional liabilities should increase and expand the market as well as the pricing.
But on the flip side, they lose ownership of the project as a partner as well. Would you say?
It's possible. We actually think that in most cases, the same investor who's buying the federal credits by buying into the partnership will buy the certificated state credits, but they'll be willing to pay roughly 40% more with the passage of this bill than they would have before because of the not having to pay that federal income tax penalty.
Now, I noticed the analysis points out the fact that for the next 2 years, the bill will bring in more dollars to the general fund, but in subsequent years, we're going to see a drop in that, or in fact loss. How does that work, and will that continue on, or does that pick up, or does that reverse its trend from that point?
We have some disputes with the Department of Finance and the Franchise Tax Board on what the fiscal ramifications would be. In our view, this is an absolute wash. The same amount of credits are going to be awarded, and the same amount of credits are going to be claimed. It's just a function of what price we get for those credits is what we're trying to deal with. The Franchise Tax Board thinks that there's some acceleration going on. This will make the credits be claimed faster than otherwise. Right now, we are fully utilizing the credits, and in our view, and talking to our accountants, there's no carryover of the tax credits right now, or very little of it. They are being claimed in the years when they're eligible to be claimed. So, in our view, there really isn't a fiscal impact. We continue to discuss that with them. But even if there were, it's all a wash in the end. It's just a function of which year the impact comes in. So if you have less now, you get more later. If you get more now, you get less later. At the end of the day, it's all the exact same fiscal impact to the state.
We're looking at maybe about $90 million in this kind of tax credit.
The state credit currently, there's $93 million in state credits currently, and that's indexed for inflation, so it goes up a little bit each year, but right now the amount is $93 million.
Okay. Now, however, the developers would still have to be qualified under the federal tax credit bracket in order for them to...
State credits always accompany federal tax credits. And as Matt was describing, there will still be an investor as an owner in this property, because for federal tax credit purposes, you do have to still be an owner. We would just create a separate rule for the state credits, so it would be treated a little bit differently. But as Matt said, it probably will be this one and the same entity who is investing in the property for the federal credits and buying the state credits.
Let me get clarification on that. So under federal law, under your measure, under this bill, then that person would still be considered an investor under federal law?
To access the federal credits, they're still going to have to become an owner in the property.
Oh, okay.
It's just we would treat the state credits separately. For purposes of the state credits, you wouldn't have to be an owner. We could sell those to some other entity or to the same entity, but absent their ownership interest. But for the federal credits, they would still have to be an owner.
So anybody or any entity or a corporation can purchase these credits from the developer for 80 cents a dollar, at least 80 cents on a dollar.
Exactly.
So, and then I could utilize that tax credit against my liabilities, for example.
Exactly.
At a state level only, not federal. I gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you very much. So, with that, any further questions or comments? Senator, would you like to close?
We'd like to secure an aye vote on this measure. Thank you.
Great. That's a very...
And let's get our tax credits used, and this makes them more acceptable to the investment community, so urgent aye vote.
Thank you. Thank you very much for carrying the bill. Madam Secretary?
Motion states to pass and be referred to the Committee on Revenue and Taxation. Chow?
Aye.
Chow, aye. Steinorth? Aye. Steinorth, aye. Burke? Aye. Burke, aye. Chu? Gaines? Aye. Gaines, aye. Lopez? Aye. Lopez, aye. Mullen? Aye. Mullen, aye.
Your bill is out. Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Thank you. So we took care of the consent agenda, and we could lift a call on item 3, SB 441. Please call the absent members.
Burke? Burke, aye.
That bill is out. Oh, go ahead. That Chu is not here yet, so that bill is out 4-2, and we'll hold the row open for absent members to add on.